Select Board's meeting. Excuse me. Yes, work this week. Welcome. Welcome to the Select Board meeting, Tuesday, April 12th, 2022. Please join the board in the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming out this evening. My name is Derek Brindisi. I'm the town manager. So we have a great crowd. We have a great ceremony this evening to honor our outgoing fire chief, our new fire chief, and our new deputy fire chief. So before I begin, I'd like to call up Reverend Gary Bloom, our fire chaplain. There he is.
Uncover. Most gracious God, we ask your blessing upon this gathering for another wonderful day for our heritage, the history of a wonderful town. We offer our support and prayers for Neil Foley as he leads our fire department. We are very aware of Chief Foley's commitment, character, and compassion, and his capability. Bless the Chief's family as they are in this journey together. May the Chief's heart and mind remind him that we are always in his support. We are blessed having another wonderful chief, a chief who combines his heart, his mind, ever leading by example. And we ask your blessing upon Jerome Hart as he assumes his responsibility as deputy chief. It's in your name we pray. Amen.
So again, thank you all for coming this evening, families, friends. I'd like to recognize our elected officials here this evening, Senator Susan Moran, Representative Catherine Lenatra, and Representative Matthew Muratori. I'd also like to recognize our Plymouth Select Board, Chairman Richard Quintal, Vice Chairman Betty Capaco, Patrick Flaherty, member, Harry Howell, member, and Charlie Bletzer, member. So again, thank you to our elected officials for being here this evening. I'd like to spend a few minutes just talking about the individuals while we're here. So as many of you know, soon-to-be Chief Neil Foley, his wife, Sarah Jean, and her 3 sons are here this evening. Chief Foley started in Hingham in 2001. He then joined the Plymouth Fire Department in 2006. He was promoted throughout the years, finally attaining the rank of Deputy Chief in 2019. Prior to joining the fire service, Chief Foley served in the Massachusetts Army National Guard. He was an advisor to the company commander and specialized in training in aviation company in nuclear, biological, chemical threats before being discharged honorably in 2001. He holds numerous certifications, including incident command, marine operations, maritime firefighting, public safety rescue diving, fire investigation, fire officer training, and labor relations. Needless to say, the chief is ready to take this new position. And then we have soon-to-be Deputy Fire Chief Jerome Hart. His wife Patricia and 2 children, Sean and Margaret, are here also with us this evening. Deputy Chief Jerome Hart joined the Plymouth Fire Department in 1996. He rose to the ranks, was promoted to captain in 2009, and then battalion chief in 2000. Deputy Chief Hart is certified EMT. He's a fire instructor 1 and 2. He's a fire officer 1, 2, 3, and 4. He's a chief fire officer. He's a safety officer and a hazmat operations certified officer. Again, this speaks to his credentials and why he's here this evening to take on this new role. And then we have Mr. Chief Ed Bradley, who's been with this fire department for 47 years. I had the opportunity to go away this past weekend, and for my birthday, I turned 47 years old on Saturday. And I decided, As I drove to work this morning, I'm thinking, I'm 47, and the chief has been serving this community for 47 years. How amazing is that? So again, thank you, Chief. In 47 of those years, he's served as 14 of those 47 years, he served as fire chief. When Chief Bradley first took the helm of the department, he wanted to replace an aging, unreliable fleet of fire trucks that were often in the repair shop. Over the last 14 years, Chief Bradley has replaced 7 pumping engines, 1 heavy rescue, 1 ladder, 1 tanker, 1 all-terrain pumping engine, and a 33-foot marine firefighting platform. The fleet replacement policy he created has provided a clear direction for the future and has increased the public safety as a result. In July of 2020, Chief Bradley, along with our select board, opened the department's newest 3-bay North Plymouth Fire Station, which he replaced the old North Plymouth Fire Station that was built in the early 1900s. This new state-of-the-art facility focuses on safety and preventative care for all of our firefighters. And then, I think as his going-away present to us all, he was able to help us move forward and secure funds for renovations in both Station 2 and Station 5? Station 5. So, again, clearly you can see Chief Bradley has done a lot for this community over the years, and I'm sure his family can attest, and all the families here can attest to the long nights that they're away from home. So we thank them for their work, but most importantly, we thank the families for the fact that you have given us these many, many years from all of our fire chiefs. Because if it wasn't because of you and their support, they couldn't do their job when they leave the house each and every night. So again, we thank the families and we thank you all for the work that you have done over the years. So I'm going to stop here. I'm going to turn this over to our state delegation. I know they have a few words that they'd like to share as well.
It's an absolute joy to be here, and having spoken when I got here a little bit earlier and toured with the chief a couple of the stations, to know that Plymouth is so well taken care of, and to have the legacy of these first responders and their families who put community first, and they can't do anything else. It's in their heart. They grow up in the department. They realize how man to man, every brother, every sister is key to success and safety going forward. And the fact that this is the passing of the torch, it's just so fitting to have an incredible ceremony that all of you family and brothers and sisters and the board is participating in. So it's my honor, as your state senator, to read the Massachusetts General Court resolutions congratulating Fire Chief Edward Bradley on his retirement from the Plymouth Fire Department. Whereas Edward Bradley, Fire Chief of the Plymouth Fire Department, will retire on April 12, 2022, and whereas Fire Chief Bradley began his career at Station 5 Manomet on October 13, 1974, became a full-time firefighter on January 2, 1977, and rose through the ranks to become lieutenant in November 2000. And whereas Fire Chief Bradley's leadership skills led to him being promoted to captain in 2003, promoted to battalion chief in 2006, and appointed as fire chief in December 2007. And whereas Fire Chief Bradley strengthened the Plymouth Fire Department by updating policies, equipment, stations, and the Emergency Operations Center, while also hiring 92 firefighters and promoting 34 lieutenants, 22 captains, 12 battalion chiefs, and 5 deputy chiefs during his tenure. And whereas Fire Chief Bradley has dedicated over 47 years of exemplary service to protect the safety of the town of Plymouth and its residents, exemplifying the power of human compassion and selflessness to protect citizens while forming a professional team of first responders. Therefore, be it resolved that the members of the Massachusetts General Court hereby congratulate Fire Chief Edward Bradley on his retirement and extend to him their appreciation. And be it further resolved that a copy of these resolutions be forwarded by the Clerk of the House of Representatives to Fire Chief Edward Bradley. And it is signed by the Speaker of the House, Ron Mariano, the Clerk, Stephen James, the President of the Senate, Karen Spilka, the Clerk of the Senate, Michael Hurley, and the delegation you have standing proudly before you, Matt Muratori, Senator Susan Moran, Rep. Kathy Lenatra, and Rep. Stephen Exaros. Rob, thank you. Thank you, Chief.
Great. Thank you, Senator Moran, Representative Muratori, and Representative Lenatra. Thank you so much for being here again this evening. I'd like to spend the next few minutes and turn this over to Selectman Charlie Blitzer to speak on behalf of the board.
Thank you, Mr. Brindisi. First off, I'd like to say happy birthday to Chief Bradley. Yes, that's a little bit better right there.
Charlie, the only thing that's been missing so far is no one saying happy birthday to you.
Well, we'll sing in the end. So, I'd first off like to thank my fellow Select Board members for giving me the honor to be able to sit here and say a few words today about my good friend and now retired Chief Eddie Bradley. Ed and I go back almost 50 years to our days in Whitehorse Beach. And I'll just say that Eddie wasn't always the quiet, laid-back guy you see today. We had a lot of fun back then, and I'll leave it at that. Eddie always had a strong work ethic, always working 2 jobs, but his first love was always the fire department. He became a paid on-call firefighter assigned to the Manomet Fire Station October 13th, 1974. That's 47 and a half years to today, 47 and a half years. I can still remember hearing the fire sirens going off and seeing when they had the horns, the fire horns, and seeing Eddie and Pete Geller jumping in their trucks and racing down Route 3A to man the Manomet Fire Station. He was appointed as permanent fire chief in January of '77. He was promoted to lieutenant in 2000, and from there he moved up the ladder, no pun intended, pretty quickly. He was promoted to captain in March of 2003, battalion chief in 2006, and he became the chief of the department in 2007. His accomplishments as chief were many. The few I'm going to talk about, and most notable, I think, in 2010, he obtained funding through the Entergy and town meeting to open the Emergency Operations Center in the Cedarville Fire Station. Before that, they were operating in the basement of Aubrey Street in a small space in a building that was taken back for county use. Ed was also instrumental in obtaining the funding needed to help upgrade and improve our fire stations. The brand new Station 7 in North Plymouth is a state-of-the-art facility that was built on time and $900,000 under budget. That building was designed to prioritize the health and welfare of our firefighters. They are able to decontaminate their equipment and store their gear in an area away from their living quarters. Before, they used to have to get off the truck and walk in. It was awful. He also received funding for the West Plymouth and Manomet stations. West Plymouth is proceeding right now, In the Manomet Station, they got the funding through town meeting recently, and that's going to be done next. Both stations are in deplorable shape, but will now be renovated to assure that our firefighters will be able to live in a safe environment similar to Station 7. Lastly, and very important, he increased the staffing of our firefighters from 123 to 139 to make sure that we can properly service and protect the increased population of our town. But Eddie's greatest achievement is his family. With his wife, Jen, they have 2 sons, G and Brian, along with their wives, Caitlin and Brianna. They have given Ed and Jen 8 beautiful grandchildren. And I know that I know for a fact that Ed is a great husband, great father, and a great grandfather. His family is very important to him, and I'm sure with 8 grandchildren, great grandchildren, he will be very, very busy in his retirement. Ed, I wish you well as you end your call and start your retirement and enjoy your family. You have served our community tirelessly, without regret, and left the department in great shape for the future. And I know that Neil Foley will continue in your footsteps to do the same. For that, I thank you on behalf of the Select Board and the residents of Plymouth. And finally, I'd like to personally thank you for being my longtime friend. Years ago, I could never imagine myself sitting here as a member of the Select Board, but I always knew that you would be the chief. Thank you.
So just in a few minutes, we will get to the change of command ceremony. But before we do, Chief Bradley, we'd like to give you the floor, give you the opportunity to say a few words, if you like.
Thank everyone for coming here tonight. I thank you for all the kind words. But I want to tell you that it's the men and women of the Plymouth Fire Department that make me look good every day. They do a tremendous job. You know, there's an old saying that if you find a job that you love, you'll never work a day in your life. I'm cautious about using that because there's people that say that if you work for the state, federal, local government, you've never worked a day in your life anyway. But it's true. I wasn't going to work. It's just something I love to do. All right, thank you all.
So Chief Bradley and I had the opportunity to talk about when he was pinned on fire chief in 2007. I think it was a cold December night in 2007. I think what you explained was that your wife Jennifer came to the old town hall and she had pinned you chief. So here we are 14 years later, we're going to pass that torch. And so I want to read something to folks because change of command ceremonies haven't been tradition in Plymouth because of just the way the evolution of chief to chief has evolved. But to Chief Bradley's credit and to the board that allowed him through special legislation and with the support of the state delegation to get that special legislation, gave us an additional 2 years, Chief. Yes. Right? So as, I don't know if you know, but at age 65, these guys have to call it quits. So thank you for the extra 2 years. But what that gave us was 2 years to plan for our next fire chief, our next deputy fire chief. And so, again, we appreciate those 2 years. And again, we thank your family for allowing us to have you for 2 more years. So this is the change of command. A change of command is a tradition that represents a formal transfer of authority and responsibility for a department from one commanding officer to another. The passing of colors or standards from an outgoing commander to an incoming ensures that the department is never without official leadership. A continuation of trust, and one that signifies an allegiance of the men and women to their commander. This is great symbolism and is attached to the ceremonial aspects of a command change. So with that being said, I would invite the three of these gentlemen to come forward with their wives so that we can witness the change of command. Gentlemen. So now that they've accepted their duties, now we will swear them in. We will start with Deputy Chief Hart. Is Larry Pizer in here? He was here. Yes. Oh, there he is.
From my first days as clerk 3 decades ago, when we were implementing the 911 system, it has been a pleasure to work with the fire department. It is an honor to be part of this swearing-in ceremony. Jerome Hart, you have been named Deputy Chief of the Plymouth Fire Department. Do you solemnly swear that you will faithfully and impartially discharge and perform the duties incumbent upon you as Deputy Chief in accordance with the bylaws and charter of the town of Plymouth and the laws of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts?
I do.
Congratulations, Deputy Chief Hart. Now we will have the swearing in for Chief Neil Foley.
Neil J. Foley, you have been named Chief of the Plymouth Fire Department. Do you solemnly swear that you will faithfully and impartially discharge and perform the duties incumbent upon you as Chief in accordance with the bylaws and charter of the town of Plymouth and the laws of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts?
I do. Thank you.
Chief, don't go too far. As the new fire chief, we will give you the floor to say a few words.
All right, well, thank you all for being here. Chairman Quintel, the board, appreciate you providing the time tonight to do this ceremony. It's important. I think that you can see from what transpired up here that it really involves much more than the individual. It involves the family. And I'm so glad that my family was able to be here today to witness this event. It's important because I'm going to need your support, right? And you've always been there for me, and I really appreciate it. My friends, my family that are here, my brother and sister firefighters are in the back, fellow town employees, I really do appreciate the support. There's been a lot of well wishes that have been provided to me over the weeks and months leading up to this, and to the community. I've been given a great honor, and it's been given to me. The torch has been passed from Chief Bradley, who set the motion of this department to where it is right now. We are in excellent shape for the future. We are going to continue to make our improvements. We're going to build our fire stations back to where they should be. We're going to provide the level of service that this town has always known to appreciate. We're there for you. We will answer your call. Thank you so much for being here tonight, and I look forward to working with you all.
We will offer one last closing prayer. Reverend Bloom.
Uncover. Gracious God, we realize how blessed we have been as the town of Plymouth. We're ever so grateful for the service of all of our firefighters. We're especially grateful for the direction that the chief has led us into this point, and now our new chief will lead us into the future. We ask your blessing upon them. May they remain safe and in your care. Thank you for this time. Thank you for this place. Thank you for the honor for all of us to be here. Amen. Right face.
So again, thank you all for coming out tonight. This is the end of our ceremony. To me, it's a historic evening in a historic building, so I appreciate you all coming out tonight. I think the chief, you have an invitation that you wanted to share with folks? Black Raspberry, family and friends, right after this event. So again, thank you everybody for coming. Appreciate it.
Excuse me, there's no reason to hurry out. The select board's holding our meeting tonight in the Great Hall, so you can all mingle on. Have a good night.
Mrs. Cavaco?
In accordance with Section 2475 and pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021, this meeting will be conducted via remote means and in person. Members of the public who wish to watch the meeting may do so in the following manner. Tune into PAC TV, government cable access channels, Comcast Channel 15 or Verizon Channel 47, and watch the meeting as it is aired live. Or watch the meeting live the PAC TV website on pactv.org. Members of the public who wish to participate in the meeting may do so in the following manner. In person, Plymouth Town Hall, 26 Court Street in the Great Hall. Remote participation, please go to the town website under the Select Board page and click on the Zoom webinar registration box. Thank you.
Thank you. And we have a proclamation. Mrs. Cavaco?
Yes, we do. We have a proclamation. Whereas the Board of Selectmen takes pleasure in recognizing Education Day and Sharing Day, USA. Whereas a quality education is one of the significant foundations of the continuing success of our state, country, and our society at large. And in the town of Plymouth, we strive for the betterment of all our citizens through the increased focus on education and sharing. And whereas, through providing the possibility of an excellent education for all, especially children, with which to gain knowledge through rigorous study, we can create hope for a brighter future, kinder and a more united and prosperous future in the lives of so many. And whereas, the educational system must also focus on building character by emphasizing the cultivation of universal moral and ethical values that have been the bedrock of society from the dawn of civilization, including the values known as the Seventh No-Head Laws. And whereas, one of the leading global advocates for the advancement of education, the Lubavitcher Rebbe Rabbi Menachem Schneerson of righteous memory, stressed the importance of moral and ethical education as the bedrock of humanity and the hallmark of the healthy society, and strongly urged that education be enforced by the inculcation of strong morals, values, and whereas, in recognition of the Rebbe's outstanding and lasting contributions towards improvements in education, moralities, and acts of charity, he was awarded the Congressional Gold Medal, and the United States Congress has established his birth date as a national day to raise awareness and strengthen the education of our children. And whereas April 12, 2022 will mark 120 years since the Rebbe's birth, and the date will be celebrated across these United States and around the globe to tribute the Rebbe's vision, guidance, leadership. And whereas for more than 40 years, the President of the United States has recognized and honored the Rebbe's vision each year on that day by proclaiming it Education and Sharing Day, USA. And now, therefore, I, Richard Quintal, Chairman of the Plymouth Select Board, do hereby proclaim Tuesday, April 12, 2022, to be Education and Sharing Day, Plymouth, in the town of Plymouth, and call upon government officials, educators, volunteers, and citizens to reach out to those within your communities and work to create a better, brighter, and more helpful future for all. In witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand and caused the great seal of the city of Plymouth to be affixed at the Plymouth Town Hall this 12th day of April in the year 2022. And it is signed by each select board member.
Thank you. Now we're going to move on to the hearing for the Artesian Pig outdoor dining license agreement. In accordance with Chapter 138 of the Massachusetts General Laws as amended, notice is hereby given that a public hearing will be held remotely or in person at Plymouth Town Hall, 26 Court Street, Plymouth, Massachusetts, on Tuesday, April 12, 2022 at 6 p.m. to consider the application for an alteration of premises and a change of license category from wine and malt to all alcohol from the Artesian Pig LLC, doing business as the Artesian Pig, holder of an annual wine and malt restaurant license, 66 Court Street, Andrew Rivera Myers. Description of premises will be as follows. Excuse me. One floor with a single room, 2,700 square feet of dining room, bar, 2 entrances, 2 exits. Applicant seeks to add outdoor seating on the sidewalk against the building and in cordoned-off parking spaces in front of the building, and use of the sidewalk to travel from the restaurant to the parking spaces per the license agreement from the town. Anyone wishing to be heard on this matter should plan to attend this meeting. I now declare this hearing open. And Chris, is there anybody that would like to speak? Well, is this the gentleman that's from the, welcome, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, thank you. Would you like to say anything before I open it to the public?
No, just that we are,
Okay.
you know, like it stated, looking for the outdoor dining for that, and then the addition, the change to full liquor, we just get an insane amount of requests, so we looked at our model and decided it might be time to pursue that option. So we are hoping that the town will be generous and allow us the opportunity to expand our license.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone wishing to speak in favor of this application? Anyone online, Chris? No? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Nothing online? Okay, I declare this hearing closed and bring it back to the board, waiting their motion.
Motion to approve.
I'll second that.
Second by Mr. Blitzer. Discussion.
I'd just like to comment about what a great job they're doing there, and they deserve to be able to have a full liquor license. They've shown in the last year, you know, how responsible they are, and I'll tell you, they're doing a heck of a business, so it's really good to see that. So I'm all in favor of this.
Any other discussion or questions? All those in favor? 4 in favor, and I abstain. Thank you.
Very good, thank you.
Public hearing for outdoor dining license agreement for the food court. In accordance with Chapter 138 of the Massachusetts General Laws as amended, notice is hereby given that a public hearing will be held remotely or in person at Plymouth Town Hall, 26 Court Street, Plymouth, Massachusetts, on Tuesday, April 12, 2022, at 6:05 p.m. to consider the application for an alteration of premises and JSR Corporation, doing business as Food Court, holder of an annual all-alcohol restaurant license, 39 Court Street, John Ricardo, manager. Description of the premises will be as follows. First floor has 984 square feet and 3 rooms. Floor 2 has 920 square feet and 2 rooms, 1 entrance and 3 exits. Applicant seeks to add outdoor seating and cordoned-off parking spaces in front of the building and use of the sidewalk to travel from the restaurant to the parking spaces per the license agreement from the town. Anyone wishing to be heard on this matter should plan to attend this meeting. I now declare the hearing open. And Chris, is anyone from? No? Okay. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of this application? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I'll close the hearing and bring it back to the board.
Motion to approve.
Second?
Second by Mr. Flaherty. Discussion?
Again, another business, another new business to the downtown Plymouth that's doing a fantastic job, great addition. And in fact, I was by there the other night and saw how busy they were, and they need more seats. So this outdoor dining is going to be huge for them. So, and they deserve it. So I'm all for it.
Any other comments from the board or questions? All right, all those in favor? Unanimous. Public hearing for Sukasa Outdoor Dining License Agreement. In accordance with Chapter 138 of the Massachusetts General Laws as amended, notice is hereby given that a public hearing will be held remotely or in person at Plymouth Town Hall, 26 Court Street, Plymouth, Mass. On Tuesday, April 12, 2022, at 6 p.m. to consider the application for an alteration of premises from Ladder 15 LLC, doing business as Sukasa, holder of an annual all-alcohol restaurant license, 30 Main Street, Erin Murphy, manager. Description of premises will be as follows: 1,800 square feet, one floor with, I believe, four rooms on one entrance, I'm assuming, two exits, basement is 400 square feet. Applicant seeks to add outdoor seating and cordoned-off parking spaces in front of the building and use of the sidewalk to travel from the restaurant to the parking spaces per the license agreement from the town. Anyone wishing to be heard on this matter should plan to attend this meeting. I now declare the hearing open. And this is Ms. Murphy on the screen.
Hey, how you doing?
Welcome. Do you have anything you'd like to say at this moment? We have the hearing open.
We just wanted to thank you again for this opportunity. We're really looking forward to it, and yeah, we're excited, so thank you.
Okay. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of this application? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I close the hearing and bring it back to the board.
Motion?
I'll second that.
Second by Mr. Flaherty. Discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All righty. Now we have Upweller proposal presentation. Please identify yourself for the record and make sure the green light's on.
Kyle Marble, 72 Warren Ave. So I'm Kyle Marble. I'm here to present this new aquaculture zone. Calling it a zone because it's an area in Hobbs Hole where it is on the eastern side of the Hobbs Hole Channel, where I would like to see some upwellers go to help the oyster community. Right now, Plymouth has 30 leaseholders and over 70 acres of oyster flat. And that's right there, that's 52 acres of flat that if you look at Google Earth is pretty bare. And when, let's say someone puts 300,000 seed out and makes one of those leases, it doesn't look like it really does much. So compared to Duxbury, who's right across the bay, we have roughly the same amount of leases and more acreage than they do. But they produce us every year tenfold because I believe they have full support of the community, town leadership, marketing within the town, regional and national, and have opportunities of making new decisions and making their industry thrive over there. This is America's hometown. Everybody knows us in the state, nation, international tourism. We're known as Plymouth. Everybody knows us, but nobody knows that we do oysters. This is going to help the restaurants, the shopping, the entertainment, the recreation. This is going to help growth of the oyster industry short-term and long-term with helping out farmers year to year, and then in the long term, filling up White's Flat or in the other flats as well, just trying to get as much as we can out of what we're doing. With the opportunities of the upwellers, it's going to obviously increase more jobs, increase sales for the restaurants, increase shopping, boating, tourism, support of the oyster farmers as far as like they'd be spending more money on building boats, building upwellers, buying gear. And this helps our environment, it helps our bay. All the oyster farmers will be able to grow, or the ones that want upwellers will be able to grow more seed, which would help filtration of our bay. And then create habitat across White's Flat, which is a bare flat of just sand. And as we have all of our oyster cages and trays out there, as I go through row to row, you see more habitat for green crab, sea worms, all different types of fish. You know, and that, it's almost like an artificial reef where it creates more life for the bay. So a lot like the cranberry industry, you know, with all of its like youth benefits and what am I trying to say here? What am I trying? Education for schools, and we have an opportunity here to have the upwellers, which is science in our harbor. You know, because I know as a kid we were going to Plymouth Beach to look at the ocean and everything that lives, but the fact that we have the opportunity to grow oysters and have science inside of our bay for our students to see and stuff like that is a great opportunity that we could have just to present. How do we make this happen? We need full support of the community, the town leadership. Basically, this is going to help put Plymouth Oysters on the map, because right now a lot of people don't even know who we are. We go into East Bay and people ask for Duxbury oysters and they say we have Plymouth, but they say they don't want them. So it's people really, I really would like to see more people realize who we are and what we're doing out there and how we compare to them. So this is the area in Hobbs Hole. If you can kind of make sense of where we are, and I have the packets there for you guys to see a little better, but that yellow line is the eastern side of the channel in Hobbs Hole. Right there you can see in that particular yellow line I have drawn, that's a row where you could put 8 moorings or 8 anchor and chain systems for the upwellers. So that area is not used for anything. Bill Doyle has had his upweller over there, I believe, for like 5 years. It's in the bottom of the picture, and that little, tiny little sliver that comes off the bottom of the picture there, and there's really not any room in there for any other upwellers, but out along that edge, there is. And if you see on the pictures that I showed you there, it's a little bit clearer. This is a primary tool for the oyster farmers. It's just a small boat with basically some silos inside of it, and there's a pump in there that helps the oysters grow. You know, if we have upwellers out there, we can buy seed at 1 millimeter or 2 millimeter. You can buy really whatever millimeter you want, but the smaller you buy it, the cheaper it is. 4 to 6 millimeter is really all a farmer can put on his farm into 2 millimeter bags. And let's say if you bought 1 million oysters from the hatchery at 4 to 6 millimeter, it's $25,000. But if you bought it at 1 millimeter, you're looking at like right around 10 grand. So I look at it as saving $12,000 per every million. And farmers can pretty much double, if not 3-4 times their crop for what they're putting out, because right now if you spend $15,000, that gets you right around $300,000, 4 to 6 mil, plus your gear. That's $15,000, and it doesn't look like it did anything to White's Flat. So that right there is a picture of an upweller that Coastwise Marine has put together. It's very small, compact, quiet, just looks like a floating dock. There's 10 silos inside of that, and it's ran off of a small Honda generator. Like I said, it's very quiet, and max height we'd probably get on those is about 10 feet. So as the oyster community is out there with all the individual leaseholders and the husband and wives are out there, if every grower and family wanted a site, there'd be 26 locations we'd be asking for. But with what there is already, some local docks in town and in other places, you would only need, from what I've gathered within the community, we'd only need 8 upwellers in that location. I put the 38 feet as a max length because I don't really feel like we'd be anything more than that, but there is some that reach, you know, you have 2 docks or whatever, they could be bigger, but that could also be something that's discussed in kind of the guidelines later on. They would only be out there from June to September during the growing season. There'd obviously be some sort of protocol to just putting an upweller out there. This would be something that would have to be, I guess, drawn up or gone over within the Shellfish Constable as far as getting a site, whether their leases are compliant or not. whether you can't just, you can't just get a site out there and use it for a boat or whatever, it has to be used for the upweller. So that's something that could be discussed later on. So throughout this entire presentation I've put together, I've also been talking with the community now for about 6 months. I've seemed to have gathered everybody's support, the oyster community, Chamber of Commerce. I've reached out to the DMF, Lobstermen Association, then we brought it to the Harbor Committee, and they were in full support of it as well. So really just looking for the support of you guys to okay these particular locations out there. Then the locations would be basically GPS coordinates off of each location, would either be a new lease or attached to the leases we already have. That would be something else that would kind of have to be drawn up. And that was it. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me. Is that it?
Any questions from the board or comments?
Well, I'll make a comment, just so folks know that this was unanimously supported by the Harbor Committee. And maybe you have questions, but I would make a motion for the board to actually accept this proposal and to allow upwellers in the area proposed.
And I'll second that motion. Second by Mr. Helm. Discussion? Mr. Blitzer?
The only question I have is, what are the negatives to this site? I don't see any. Is there a negative to this?
A storm could blow through and wipe out our crop is really all the negative that is in it.
That would hurt you.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
For the town, I'm saying, I don't see any negatives. So
No,
I don't think so either, no.
no.
it's a no-brainer to me, so thank you.
But the board actually, if they ever have the opportunity, I was able to go to Mr. Doyle's upweller a few years ago, and it really is a very interesting process. And I don't know if any of you guys have anything out there as of yet, but if you have the ability, I suggest that you go and do a little tour and see how the whole operation is, because it's pretty interesting, so.
Harry, did you have a question?
No question, just a
Okay.
comment. I look forward to the day I can go to a restaurant in Austin, Texas, and they have Island Creek crossed out and Plymouth oysters written in.
That's what we want too. Exactly right. Thank you very much.
America's hometown oysters.
Exactly
There we
right.
go.
Yep.
All those in favor? Unanimous.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Discussion on and vote on the woodlot referendum question. Is there anyone wishing to speak on this in the audience?
Pat McCarthy, Precinct 5. I have a procedural question. It was on the agenda for 6:50, and I know that there's a lot of people that have been following this issue and this question who may or may not be coming to hear your discussion.
Okay.
And I know you're running.
You bring up a good point.
I appreciate you're running early. I mean, I have a, but I have a thank you to the board, so I could start with that. I appreciated the board with the cross-links on your main page on the Town of Plymouth website, so that one of my big concerns, as always, I guess over all the years that I've been here, is that people get proper information and get the facts. And because of that, I was able to copy and paste and create a post myself, which is, that's nice for me to be able to do that and share it with the different groups, just with the links to get information. so that people could read some facts. So in light of that, I hope that the board would have any new information added as you move along in the process. And then when you get to the full discussion of the question, I'll probably have maybe another comment, but I just wanted to thank the board for that.
You're welcome. It was actually, I reached out to Chris and asked him to post those memos as they come in, and I'll continue to do that. No, I didn't do it. The office does it. But I don't have time, to be honest with you. So, and after Chris, whoever the successor is will be his or her job to do the same. And I agree with you 100%. It was the fastest way to get information out. And not only that, the biggest part, the correct information. And that's really what I was trying to get across. So I hope that works. It sounds like it's already got some good feedback, so good.
Can we put this question, can we continue through the agenda?
If you let me continue on the agenda, I'm going to say that next. So we'll come back to this, right, Betty?
Works for me.
All righty. Do we have a town manager's report? I know you were away, and we understand that, but.
Always have a town manager's report, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
So I was away last week, but I wanted to reflect on town meeting.
Please make sure your microphone is
I
turned
thought it was
on.
a very successful town meeting. A lot of great debate, deliberation, and discussion. Although it was long, I felt it was very successful overall. So I appreciate the board support, certainly appreciate our department heads and all the work that they
Please
put in.
make sure your
I
microphone
don't know
is
if
turned on.
Folks are aware, I'm sure town meeting members are aware, the number of requests that come from town meeting members is in the hundreds. And we understand that and we appreciate that because we'd rather answer those questions in advance. But I just want folks to realize that, folks like Marie Brinkman, Lynn Barrett, Lee Hartman, they spend countless hours to answer those questions. So I really appreciate all their efforts in doing that. Because I don't, when folks send one email, they don't realize there's 10 others from 10 other town meeting members that are coming behind that. So it's just important to note because they put in so much effort to make sure town meeting is successful. That being said, just kind of moving on to some weekly updates. We met with Karen Keene from the Public Health Department this morning, who's continuing to track COVID. So we see a small uptick in our positivity rates, a little north of 2%. But I had reported in previous town meetings that we had received a grant to start to sample our wastewater for COVID. And those samples are already starting to come in on a regular basis. And what it's demonstrating is that there is actually an increased level of viral load of COVID in our wastewater. And so what that's indicative of is the fact that most of the folks aren't reporting to hospitals, but they're taking their tests at home, or maybe not taking tests at all, but it's certainly showing up in higher counts in the wastewater than we're seeing through the positivity rate. So COVID's not gone away. It's something we're going to continue to track, and I know some other communities have, I think it was the city of Denver, started to implement mask wearing again, so hopefully we don't have to go down that path. But the Health Department and the Board of Health is closely watching that, so I'll continue to report on COVID as we move forward. Moving on, this 558 Wareham Road, I know, has been of discussion in the past with this board, so I wanted to just give you an update. 555 Wareham Road is scheduled to receive an appointed receiver on April 25th. So, this is a property that's been in disrepair for quite a long time. We've had no compliance from the current property owner. So once the receiver has been appointed by the courts, we'll go ahead and work with the receiver to have the property brought back into compliance. So I'll keep you posted on that. The smokestack, again, this was a discussion item for the past 4 weeks. We've been informed by the property owner that they have engaged a general contractor to begin the dismantling of the smokestack the week of May 19th. That being said, I have had regular communications with Bill Cohen. I know board members have also attended the site as well to get a first-hand view of what's going on with the smokestack. So just so everybody's aware, The owner has engaged a building conservation specialist who's in the process of completing a report. This report will help us determine whether or not there's going to be any reclamation possible. And so Bill is working closely with this building conservation specialist. That being said, though, I just want folks to be aware that Mass Historical Commission has approved the demolition of the smokestack. So unfortunately, we don't see this smokestack standing, but we hope that we can work with the property owner in the future to reassemble something to give its historical look back to that area. As far as IT goes, I just want the board to be aware that I've been working with Joe Young, our IT director. They're actually in the process of removing an antenna over at headquarters for various reasons. And one of the prime locations to relocate that antenna is on top of this building. I know in the past, folks have shied away from attaching an antenna to this building for historical purposes, or at least the aesthetics. But we're looking at what types of antennas won't be as noticeable. But we do know that this is a prime location, given the elevation, one. But both fire, police, and EMS all say that this would increase the efficiencies of their communications if we were to do that. So I'll bring that back before the board, just so folks are fully aware that if we are able to move down this road, that there may be a dish-like antenna attached to the roof somewhere. But again, I'll keep you posted on that. As far as staying on the IT, you will notice on the second floor over here that we have the help desk is up and running. So folks that come to Town Hall and they need assistance with getting online, paying bills online, or just need assistance in navigating the building, the help desk is available, and we have 2 IT support staff that can help folks do whatever they need to accomplish here in Town Hall. That being said, during this conversation, we have recognized that, especially many of us who work in this building, we always see people wandering on the building and not really knowing where to go. So an idea came up this morning amongst our department heads to research the feasibility of acquiring kiosks. So there's a town on the Cape that has these kiosks where you can indicate what you're trying to accomplish. So if you're looking for a birth certificate, you punch in birth certificate, it'll tell you go to the town clerk's office, because folks don't know to go to the town clerk's office, and where it's actually located. So again, the IT is researching that. If we can do it, we may post a kiosk at this entrance and then a kiosk at the other entrance, again, to help folks navigate this 4-story structure. A couple meetings, very important meetings have happened and will continue to happen this week. The DCR Commissioner will be in town tomorrow at 10 a.m. He's going to visit the site to look at potential promenade funding support. JB will be out there with a few other staff members. In addition to that, we're going to have a follow-up meeting at 10:30 to talk about the town's ability to potentially acquire the park on the right of the portico. So again, those conversations will take place tomorrow. I'll be happy to report back on any progress we make with the Department of Conservation and Recreation. On yesterday, the DPW held a meeting over at Stevens Field to begin the design of the Stevens Field play area. And then this Thursday, we also have another meeting with the Army Corps of Engineers. They're going to be meeting with David Gould and his team over at Long Beach to review the $25 million dike project. Remember, I had reported this a few weeks back. That came from Senator Markey's office that awarded the town $25 million to repair the dike over in Long Beach. So again, that meeting would take place this coming Thursday with David Gould. 2 important issues I think the board would be very interested in. Restrooms. So we have 2 options relative to the White Horse Beach restrooms. We can go ahead and acquire just the old-fashioned porta potties, or we can potentially use ARPA funds at the cost of about $100,000 to acquire the portable restroom trailers. So that's something that, if the chairman would like for us to bring back a couple possibilities and options next week for consideration. Again, this board, you are responsible for the use and purpose of ARPA funds. So if you wanted us to pursue this portable restroom trailer, we'd be happy to do that. But again, The cost is $100,000. I think we only have approximately $40,000 set aside for restrooms down at White Horse Beach, so something to consider. And then, again, Steve and I have been talking, and he brought to my attention that the VSB would consider a grant of $10,000 for us to open the town hall restrooms outside. Right now, we're scheduled to open May 20th. With a potential grant award, we could extend the number of days that we are open to the restrooms by 147 days. I believe Steve had mentioned that they're going to meet this Tuesday, Steve? Tuesday. So at that point, again, if the board agrees, we'd like to go ahead and execute an amended contract to the cleaning company so that we could open those restrooms sooner rather than later, and then try to extend the restroom use well into the early fall. Again, assuming the board's amenable to that.
Can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
I just have a question. So instead of May 20, it's going to be open later? What would be the closing date?
So we have 147 days. Right now, we're scheduled to be open Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays.
From
May 20th, I think it's September 15th, somewhere.
The 15th or the
yeah.
6th, I saw.
Yeah, somewhere in that
So
range.
we potentially could go into November.
Yes, oh, absolutely.
Okay, that would be fantastic if we could do that.
So I'd certainly like to open as soon as we can, so maybe late April,
Yeah.
and then, to your point,
Very,
extend
very
through.
important to the downtown businesses, so, and I know I talked to Steve about it, and once we get that, we can let them all know, and maybe they can put some signage in their storefronts and let people know that, so. But I'd be all for that, so. Do we need a motion for that?
Not at all. I'll continue to work with Steve Layden and his board.
Mr. Biden.
The VSB board is committed to to support tourism as much as we can. That's one of our jobs. We do a lot of things that people aren't aware of. If you notice the new sign down at Court Street in North Park, that was one of our projects. The lights wrapping the poles, that's another one of our projects. We also supported Robin Carver and her group to wrap all the light boxes. So the VSB is more, our business is to support tourism, and that's what we do. And I don't see any problem, this grant coming every year to support the operation of the bathrooms. That's what we do, and we're more than happy to support the town. We do a lot more than just give grants to people who want, like the 4th of July, and, we do a lot of, 10% of our budget goes to improvements of the town, and that's what we try to do every year. So thank you. And thank Derek for all his work to working on these bathrooms.
So again, I'll keep the board posted on that, but, hoping we can extend the use of those restrooms. And then my last report is I just wanted to just remind the board that a few weeks back I had announced another grant award through the police department, which will now allow a mental health counselor to ride along through the Department of Children and Families to ride along with one of our route cars. That program is going to start this Thursday. It's going to be a Monday through Friday program during the day where this mental health counselor will help our police department respond to calls that are linked to behavioral or mental health issues. So we know for a fact that many of the calls today, and I think more exasperated because of COVID the last 2 years, are related to mental health. And so we see a greater need in the community to respond in an appropriate manner using counselors. So that program starts this Thursday. We know it'll be successful. We're actually already, the chief's already putting in place to expand this program to additional counselors moving forward. So again, I'll keep the board posted on the results of that. So pending any questions, that's all I have for this evening.
Maybe.
Mrs. Cavaco?
Maybe not questions, but some comments. The first one was about the kiosk, and I remember this board, I'm not sure if, I don't think Harry and Charlie were on it, but I don't know if Patrick and Dick, you remember, we were gonna try and get like a volunteer to come in, and you know how they have that work program to offset their taxes?
Yep.
So we wanted we had talked about it and wanted it, and then it just didn't happen. So maybe that's another way of, you know, I would love for somebody to walk into that glass solarium and maybe even another one here in the back and be able to ask someone like, you know, oh, can I help you? Where are you going? I just think it's more personal. And the kiosks don't answer you when you ask them questions, so.
Sure.
But not that I'm saying it's a bad idea, but I think that was one of the things that the board discussed previously that just never came to fruition. And the other is about the trailer for White Horse Beach. I'm all for trying to, you know, bring that back to the board. Hopefully, we can get ARPA funds from it. Those porta potties can get pretty gross. So I know it's a self-contained. I saw the pictures, and there's also another vendor called William Scott, which I can send that to JB and have him look into that as well, or if you can send it over to him. But as long as it's okay with the board, I would like to have you move forward with that.
Happy to do it. Yeah, I'm happy to work with JB, and I know that there's a couple of these vendors that are already on the state bid list, so we don't have to go to bid. So we could, you know, we could place this on the agenda potentially next week. The board could vote in favor of it, and we could go ahead and order those, that trailer for this summer season. JB doesn't think it's going to require much of a lead time, so I think we could definitely have it in short order.
Well, one of the things too is that we would, something like that, we would be able to use for off-season events like the Thanksgiving Day Parade and, you know, any of the things like, so I think,
Yeah, it's a great idea.
it would be a good purchase.
Yep, fair idea.
Oh. Did you want, do you want me to talk about Cottage Park?
I'll just open up if I can.
Yep, please do.
You're talking about the Stack at Cottage. Betty, myself, and Bill Cohan had a meeting with the Genettis last week. Actually, it was the day before. They secured a company to remove the stack. The Genettis are very willing to work with the town to see what they can come up with, you know, what the town might be interested with, whether it be a memorial or a rebuild of some sort. So I'm sure we'll have some workshops and discussion on that after the fact, as soon as we get to that point. So we did try. It's a safety issue, and really that's the bottom line on that. So I don't know if you want to add to that, Betty?
Well, I think one of the things that people should realize is that they have been very, very cooperative. They feel terrible that it has to come down. It is a safety issue. Right now, it's fenced. I think it's slotted to come down on May 9th.
I think so,
But-
the week of.
Yeah, the week of May 9th. But just so folks know that they really do want to work with us, and they're going to, as it begins to come down, they want to see if there's going to be any area that they can, like, save the bricks, that we could reuse it. I mean, I personally would love to see a whole other stack closer to the ocean with a light on top, but that's kind of a wish list right now, make it look like a lighthouse. But just so folks know that, you know, they have been like really cooperative, and they want us to have the bricks if we want it. We've already secured a storage location for them if they're feasible to keep and use somewhere else, so. But I just wanted folks to know that they have been very cooperative with us.
And I just want to add to that, because I forgot, it's not being taken down to put a building there. It's not, you know, that's nothing to do with it. Nothing's going in its place. And they basically said, you know,
Yeah.
the space, you know, if you want to put something there or do something, of course, with their blessings, but it's not because it's in the way by any means. So I just want to be very clear on that, getting the facts out correctly. So, anything else from board members on Derek's report? Derek, you know, we talked about you talked about the possibility of a dish being on the roof, and I started thinking about maintenance. And I attended the hearing at North a public hearing at North High School last night for the redistricting plan. But out of that, what I was really impressed with was the way Christine Renault had a feasibility study, I believe it was, and you correct me if I'm wrong, Brad, I don't put you on the spot, but I was very impressed on that, as it went out 20 years for these buildings that they own, and approximately how much it was to put into these buildings. And I don't know if we have one for the town side, and this is why I'm always saying, bringing up consolidation. It's not so much, everyone thinks it's to save money, it's not. I mean, it would be nice, but when I see something like that, I'm saying, well, why doesn't the town have that? So I would ask that you ask our facilities managers to at least contact Christine, maybe have a meeting, and bring us a proposal for what it would cost to do that study and bring it back. Because I heard this at town meeting too. They want to know what's going on with the fire stations, and which I believe they should really have that information already, I think.
We do.
Okay. So, but what I like to look is, however many buildings we have, say it's 40. This building I'm sitting in, I know there's a lot of stuff downstairs. Is there a maintenance plan for this building? If so, I'd like to see it. I'd like to know who's in charge of it and what the plan is. So if I'm sitting here, I don't have to go say to town meeting, I need X amount of dollars, because we haven't done anything to this building since we built it. I'm not saying that's the case, but I'd rather be proactive and put it out there so we can make intelligent decisions. And all my years, I've never seen one. So after seeing that last night, I said that was really nice presentation. So if we could get the information on how we go obtaining that and how much the cost is, I think it'll pay itself, time over. Sure. It was really a good
And
presentation.
With your permission, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to bring in our facilities manager and our DPW director to present to the board their due solutions report, which I believe only projects 5 years. So possibly May, this would be a good opportunity. We do some more research, see what the schools have done, but then we can piggyback on that and present to the board what we already have in place.
Yeah, exactly, because I don't know, but I was very impressed by it, so.
Well,
Mrs. Cavaco?
I'm just going to kind of jump on the whole consolidation thing, and that's another thing that we're really not trying to consolidate to save money. We're trying to consolidate to make the process better and be more successful. So, we've thrown around this consolidation for 5 years now. Every single year we throw it around, we get a little nibble, and then it dies on the vine. So I think our thoughts at one point was to consolidate town and school, to have it as a standalone facility department, and be able to maintain both sets of buildings. So I know Mr. Brothers is in the audience, and he will be joining us next week as our full-time assistant town manager. So 2 weeks, sorry. Trying to push it along, sorry. But I'm hoping that can be, one of the things that he can help us work on, because honestly, we do it every year. We've done it every year for 5 years. If it's not going to happen, just let us know that there's no interest and we can move on to something else, because we have plenty on our plate, so.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions for Derek? Seeing none. Excuse me. Anyone wishing to speak on the public comment? Please identify yourself for the record.
Steve Lyden, you just brought up about I know I'm on the capital outlay committee, and we meet every year to set the priorities. We have every division head that comes in, and I asked for a hard copy, and the fire station, I was very surprised didn't pass it for us, because that station was in such bad shape. I had the paperwork, I looked at it, I read it, and I'm surprised that that information doesn't get passed on to, town meeting. Also, it wasn't, I didn't hear it, maybe I missed it, but no one gave what our priorities were. No one said, well, the capital outlay committee, we rated that as number, I think we had 149 things that we had to review, and no one said, well, this was number 1, this was number 149. To me, this is important information, and it doesn't get out. And then all of a sudden, people saying, gee, I'm surprised. I mean, we haven't spent money on our fire stations for years. And when the division heads come in, they tell us how long this project has been. How many years has this been on the capital outlay list? 5, 6, 7 years? And, nothing ever happened. So I'm not surprised the buildings are in bad shape as they are. I'm glad that they reconsidered and they are going to fix that fire station, because, to be honest, I wouldn't let my dog stay there. That place is disgusting. We owe our employees a better place to work. We shouldn't be jeopardizing, their health is jeopardized now. Every time they go into a building, there's smoke and all the chemicals they have to deal with. They shouldn't have to be afraid to go into their firehouses. So I think we should get this information out. It's there, a lot of it's there. It just, it never gets out. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. And actually, it's a great point, because I also serve on capital outlay. And I think the problem that I see, and I don't know if this board can change that, and I'm sure, Derek wants our processes to be easier, is that it didn't matter what we ranked on capital outlay. Once it came back to town manager, if they think it's not a worthy project, they would cancel what the ranking was. So I think there's a disconnect there. So, I mean, if we have, capital outlay is all day. Sometimes it's long days. So I think, capital outlay ranks a project and they go through their due diligence and they vet it. And then if it comes back, when it comes back to town management, the town manager has the authority to say, yeah, I'm not going to do that, even if it's ranked number 2 or number 3. So I think we have to do some work with that, because that's why we have this capital outlay group. Because honestly, I personally don't think we should be sitting there all day and doing all this work, and then the work is futile. I mean, nothing comes of it. It doesn't raise to the occasion that these people put in to do all this effort to rank these projects. So I'm hoping that maybe there's something you can work on with that.
If I could, through the chair, respond to that. What was just described regarding the capital outlay committee, capital improvement committee, is very unique to Plymouth. Most communities don't do what Plymouth does with an all-day session. Typically, you have a capital improvement plan. Most communities have a 5-year capital improvement plan. The last community I came from, we developed a 10-year capital improvement plan, and it was very clear what rolling stock, what capital equipment and facilities needed to be replaced in what year. And so I think that's something that I know Mr. Brothers and I have already talked about. That's something that he's very interested in, looking at our process and making it a little bit more efficient, and then, again, bringing that back to the board. But at the same time, I want to also say that we've had a committee that has been empowered to do this. So, I don't want them to believe that they are no longer used, because they will be, And the way I look at a capital budget committee or capital improvement committee is to determine whether or not that product, that item is beyond its useful life. And then just to decide, yes, it is. And then the advisory and finance decides whether or not we can afford that item if it's been approved by capital. So that's kind of the process. And again, Plymouth does a little bit different. And so I think this is an opportunity for us to kind of revisit our processes that are maybe a little antiquated, and see how we can do things a little bit better, a little bit more efficient.
Perfect.
Yeah, I just so it was clear, it wasn't really I found fault with anything on capital outlay. That's after pretty much what they're asking for and what it costs. What I'm actually was really looking for was projectatory out. I think the schools did it out to 20 years, right? 5-year mark, 10-year mark, 20-year mark. They had all the buildings in one column, and it was telling you what you're going to be putting in each building. I mean, it was very I've never seen anything like that. And I think that would add to the capital outlay if you had that. I think it would, even Lynn Barrett.
That school new solutions cost us $115,000. That was approved at town meeting when I first started, so that was 3 town meetings ago. $115,000 was set for capital for that, unfortunately. And not how many buildings we want to have looked at the town side, but just for a reference point, the schools, 13 buildings, $115,000.
And I think that the facilities dude solutions and the school dude solutions actually work together. So I think there's something that we could connect there.
I just know if I was in administration, I'd like to have that report to put my hands on, to make decisions, that's all. So, the last thing I have, well, it can wait till new business, because now it's almost 7 o'clock. I'm sorry, any more public comment?
Yes,
And I see there's one on the screen too, so I'll do that one next, Chris, I believe.
Good evening, Mr. Quintal and members of the Select Board. My name is Connie Malahoris. I'm a lifetime resident and concerned citizen of Plymouth. I'm here on behalf of myself and of the many others in this community who are opposed to bringing horse racing to Plymouth. Ms. Cavaco, you stated on your Facebook page that all members of the Select Board said no to horse racing. I'm here tonight to ask that the Select Board take a stand and make it official by putting forward a motion to oppose the bringing of horse racing and gambling to our town.
Anyone else wishing to speak on a public comment?
Thank you, Chairman, for allowing me to speak tonight. Before I express my concern, I want to just comment that I think the town's being very proactive by having a mental health counselor drive with the police. I think that is a wonderful program. I commend you for that. But this is my regard, and it's to the letter you wrote and posted on Facebook, which stated that you approved of moving the Boston South project forward. While some of you admitted to not having read the proposal, the Boston South proposal clearly stated that it was to build a thoroughbred horse racing facility and a gambling establishment on the county woodlot. As a concerned citizen, I'd like to know to whom that letter was sent, and if it was sent to the state, to whom did it go?
Thank you. I'd like to go online, Chris, if I could, to that one person. I believe it's one person. Henrietta, did you want to speak on the public comment?
Yes, I did. I first would like to thank you for hearing me. Thank you to all of the panel members. And I would like to second Pat McCarthy's question about race talk. I do think it's very important for us to hear a public position from the Select Board. But I'm actually here to talk about a different subject that also requires a public statement of support. And that is, may I move on then to my subject?
Before you do, could you identify yourself for the record then, please? Yes, that's okay.
Henrietta Cosentino.
Thank you.
I am on the board of the Plymouth League of Women Voters. I am chair of their Nuclear Affairs Committee and a member of their Sustainability Committee. And I'm also a member of the Nuclear Decommissioning Citizens Advisory Panel. And my reason for being here tonight is that, as you all know, I believe, there was quite an amazing event on Saturday in front of Woods on the Wharf. It was a rally to voice opposition to the Holtec plan of dumping
1 million gallons of radioactive nuclear waste into Plymouth Bay, into Cape Cod Bay. And it was fantastic to see so many people come out from a wide range of communities. Most of those communities are completely dependent on the resources and beauties of our beautiful bay. And when Betty, when you showed up and gave a very rousing speech, it was wonderful. I thank you for making that rousing speech, and you said not one drop, and you talked about an injunction, and you talked about a class action suit. And my question really is, what are you going to do to follow up with that? But before you answer the question, I wanted to say that in my mind, the very first and most important thing that the town of Plymouth can do is to make its position on this issue public. A statement that could be put on the town website, that could be released in a press release and sent to various newspapers, a letter that, a statement that could be sent to the governor, to the AGO, to the heads of Mass DPH and Mass DEP. Those are the agencies most concerned with this issue. And the truth is that the Commonwealth of Massachusetts has quite a lot of legislation that make it very obviously illegal to dump waste into the bay. However, those bills, those regulations are only as good as their enforcement. And there are a lot of red herrings being floated out there to distract our attention from the fact that the dumping is illegal and the Commonwealth has a right to enforce its own regulations by the very nature of the contract that Holtec signed with the AGO. So I'm very, very eager to see the select board take the action that Betty promised. First of all, in a statement, a public statement. And secondly, yes, an injunction against the consideration of dumping as an option. I think that should be enjoined. And all Holtec has to do is take the other option. The other viable option is shipping the water off-site to a place probably in Idaho. It's a registered, licensed rad waste facility, and it is the appropriate place for this highly radioactive water. So that is really, and nothing is, well, very little is more important than this. There was a reference earlier in the meeting to the dream of having Plymouth oysters famous all over the East Coast and further. And that would be indeed wonderful. But if there's even a hint that those oysters are contaminated, that's not going to happen. And talk about economic consequences to the town of Plymouth. The consequences of radioactive dumping into our bay would be truly catastrophic. It would severely damage, even devastate, all those industries from agriculture to marine recreation, to tourism, to real estate. It just cannot be allowed to happen. And the truth is, unless we take a very strong stand starting today, it's going to happen. Because we must persuade Charlie Baker and Maura Healey to make this a high priority. And they won't do so because they have so many things on their plate. And you know how that is because you too have many, many things on your plate. But unless they make it a high priority, it will happen. Holtec has already said it won't do it in 2022, but it could start on January 1st of 2023. So time is truly of the essence, and any kind of legal activity is going to take time. The most important thing right now is to get Plymouth out there in public, in opposition to the plan, and then use that statement for a wide variety of PR. Meanwhile, working behind the scenes with your counselor to see what it would take to have an injunction. Ideally, this injunction would be in cooperation with all the other towns at Kingston, Duxbury, Marshfield, all the towns on the Cape, Bourne, all of these towns, all of these other towns have already made their public statements, either in a special, in town meeting or in letters or both. And I'm just very eager to see Plymouth do the same. And thank you, Betty, for raising the issue Saturday.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak on a public comment?
I did ask a question, so I'd love to.
Right, I'm just going to let you all know that the board's not going to correspond with open public comment any longer. I allowed it for 2 weeks, and I noticed I didn't do it in the school committee. I know that I didn't do it in the FinCom, and I heard what you said. I'm sure we all did. We're going to get our answers, and we'll bring them back, or through the town manager, we'll answer them. Especially when it comes to legal stuff, which a lot that you touched on. You know what I'm saying? But I don't want to get into going back and forth every week in public comment. I try to do it to be polite and respectful, but it's just not the way it should be. Somebody's going to get in trouble somewhere. So I want to get the right information, and I think that if you give us till next week on some of the questions, we can answer. Some legally we can't. But, so that's my thinking on that. Mrs.
Thank you. Follow up on some comments that I made last week, and it's some of the concerns of going, is this on?
Has the green light on? Okay. Try to pull it, the speaker, to you a little closer.
Oh, that one, okay, sorry, it wasn't on, see?
Okay.
Anyway, well, it's great to be back in the Great Hall. Anyway. Following up on some of the things I spoke about a little while ago tonight, is that informing the citizenry in town, in light of the fact that tonight on the agenda, you'll be discussing a non-binding referenda question, that I think it's important for the citizens to know about the land that the county currently owns, not the land that that the proponent wants to buy, but the currently owned land, where what's called the woodlot. And the woodlot then also includes the extra lot that they bought on Long Pond Road. So I don't even know how many people out there know who don't live in the general vicinity of Exit 5. If you live down in, say, on the Bourne line, you might not know about the woodlot up here. So when you put the question on the ballot, I think information is really important. And I think information to the public that the county owns the land, that we don't own the land, and that the issue with regards to the zoning of the land, which about 75% plus or minus of that land is residentially zoned. So with regards to the proposal from Boston South Development, not only with its primary focus being on the racetrack issue, they also have a comprehensive discussion with regards to other amenities or possibilities that, to me, fall within a commercial use of the land. So I would like you to, at some point, hopefully, and I know that last week, Lee Hartman said that since there was no real plan in place, but there's discussions of what ideas they want to use. In light of that, I would hope that you could at least request and formally request in a motion or however that town council review at least the uses of the land now, the county owning the land now, and that the developer, what the ideas that they want to use certainly right now are not residential, and the light industrial is only about 25 to 30% of the land. So I think those issues, I hope you would clarify before, when and if you decide tonight to put a non-binding question on the ballot, so that people will know a little bit more. Like you are posting information, as I complimented you earlier, this could be also additional information that you put on your town website for all of us to see. Thank you.
Please.
Testing 1, 2. Okay, well, actually, what I have to say, Pat actually covered a lot of it. But I'm Charlie Beautrain. I've been a resident in town for 50 years, raised kids, 3 kids here. We actually have 3 of the grandchildren living here, too. And I do believe that many people in the town that we know are so concerned about this whole woodlot thing and the horse racing. So regarding the non-binding question on a referendum, we really hope that the Select Board votes to include the use of the woodlot going by the RFP, which does say horse racing, casino, and other types of buildings. In fact, I've learned a new slang word now, racino. That's a combination, right? Racing and casino. This really should be on the binding question. And also, as Pat said, you should really identify that it's county property and where it is. Because there are lots of people who have no idea where the woodlot is. You know, they might think it's down in Cedarville or down by Bourne or Wareham. And it's not. It's right up here at exit 5, which is now exit 13. The traffic is horrendous already. It's terrible. They're going to try to put something like that there. So anyway, I hope that you will consider these things about before you put the non-binding question out, okay? Thank you for listening to me.
Anyone else wishing to speak under public comment?
Mr. Donato.
Okay. Mr. Donato, can you hear us?
Mr. Chairman, can you hear me?
There we go. Yes.
Mr. Chairman, my name is Al Donato. I'm a town meeting member of Precinct 12. And first of all, I just want to, the board is following the proper process with public comment. I don't want the public to feel that the board is doing something wrong right now. They can comment on issues that are on the agenda. We can come here, I can speak here tonight about any issue. I don't expect the board to answer my questions because of open meeting laws. And this is due to that the public needs to know what you are talking about. So I thank you, Mr. Chairman, for not commenting on these issues. And if there are issues that the public wants the board to comment on, that should be put on the agenda so the whole world knows what we're discussing. So the board is just following Mass General Law. I don't want the public to feel that they're not commenting on this. When these issues come up later, we can discuss it. I'll be very brief, Mr. Chairman. 2 major issues. You know, we passed the budget. It's balanced. That's great. The Office of the State Auditor, Suzanne Bump, has come out with a report that is pretty damning about Beacon Hill, that there have been 29 laws that have had a negative effect on local governing, to the effect that 20% of all local aid in the Commonwealth has been affected by unfunded mandates. We know that the politicians love this. They want to promise Disney World every day. But unfortunately, as I've examined our budget, I'm relatively new to the town, it's had a negative effect on our budget. Now that things have settled, the contracts are settled, I would just like to make a suggestion. I know we have a finance committee that is very capable. According to Mass General Law, they are the financial watchdogs of our community. I would like to see, if not our finance committee, or maybe they could appoint a subcommittee, or they could hire, I hate to use the word auditor, but I think we need to know what that number is, because that is part of our problem with our budget. And I would suspect it's a problem with most communities. And I think once we figure out that negative impact on our budget. I think we need to sit down our local legislators and let them know, and to put it in a layman term, to kind of knock it off with unfunded mandates. And we could potentially have a joint session with other communities. And we're not even talking about federal unfunded mandates. So I just wanted to put that out there. There are people talking about the town budget of, these impacts. The administrators of this town just deal with those issues. And a lot of them could be righteous and holy matters from Beacon Hill, but the bottom line is they have to be paid for. And I think we need to identify that and begin to deal with that issue. So that's that issue. Quickly, on the racetrack issue. In this issue, I would say we are putting the horse before the cart. I've expressed this on Facebook. There are groups like the Dukakis Center for Public Policy. I've reached out to Selectman Helm and I've had a discussion on this. I've reached out to Mr. Hartman's office as well, that they will come into Plymouth and plug in all our information. This racetrack group, or this group that's petitioning to come in town, they're doing it for themselves. They're going to have a public process for themselves. Well, as a community, we should be doing that. You are the gatekeepers of this town. I don't think anyone would support 2 more nuclear power plants or used car lots up and down Long Pond Ave. We are the gatekeepers, and we say what comes into our town through zoning, through town meeting, through this body, through that process. But I think we should put this on hold. And us as a community, with business people, with civic groups, with League of Women Voters, are plugging in this information that makes Plymouth unique to other communities. It's called branding. What do we think? What will they think of Plymouth if we're branded, if we go down with this project? What do we think when we think of Wellesley or Hingham or Cape Cod? Why aren't these folks going to those communities? Because their zoning won't allow it, and the townspeople, the gatekeepers, will not allow it. So in closing, I want to say I think we need to identify in this community what we don't want. I don't think we want another nuclear power plant. And this town has done well this past Saturday voicing that. And we need to voice to what we want in this community, how we want to brand Plymouth going forward. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wishing to speak on a public comment, Chris? Online?
I think, may I speak?
Yes, can you hear us? We can
Yes,
hear
I
you.
can.
Okay.
This is just a quick postscript to Mr. DiNardo's excellent point. I think it is of the greatest importance that the community itself be well-informed and given plenty of time to express what it does or what it wants to come in and what it does not want to come in. And I do find myself rather horrified by the idea that Plymouth would be branded as a racetrack, what is it, a casino, or whatever the blended term was of a casino and a racetrack. It surely would bring in lots of income, but I think we should stick with the income we already have and make sure it doesn't get contaminated. That's all.
Thank
And
you.
Thank you for hearing me again.
Anyone else wishing to speak under public comment? Okay. Let's move back to the board for discussion and vote on the woodlot referendum question. Patrick?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So we have, I know there's a couple, I don't want to go ahead and just jump into making a motion because I know there's a couple, at least 2 types of questions, versions of the question that are there that went to council and back. So I just wanted to, I guess, understand and hear from, where that other question kind of came from. Maybe we could put that out there just to talk about it and understand what we'll be voting on, and kind of how we want to do this. Because there's a question that, I'll just read the question that I would propose. It says, do you support a development project that includes a thoroughbred horse racetrack in Plymouth on the land known as the Plymouth County Woodlot? Would be that question that I would propose for this May. But don't want to jump into a motion until everyone's had an opportunity to speak on their thoughts on that.
Anyone else wishing to speak?
I have a question. So, although the original motion, I understand the RFP says it, the original motion did not say a horse track, a racetrack. It said a gaming and sports complex. So, where is that in this motion? So maybe Derek, you can, I'm just saying, so everybody says, let's just say, everybody says they don't want a horse track. Would that cancel out the entire project, or do we still give the people the ability to change what they propose, kind of thing, I guess is what I'm thinking about.
Say something, Mr. Chairman.
Absolutely.
So we know this is a non-binding question. They, as the developer, could still do anything they want going through the process. I think one of the things that we've known is very important, whether it's the issue of the water at the power plant or this type of issue, that the residents are really looking to be heard. And I think this is the opportunity to have the residents heard on this concept of a question. And we know that we had our motion as a board, but separately from that, there's the proposal that came from the developers. I think that's where the focus of the question roots from the language that they have in the proposal. So I know it's very separate from our motion, but that's where I think this question is relevant to the proposal that they put forward.
Who's they? Yeah, who's they?
Well,
Who's they put the question forward? I'm just curious.
They is the RFP. It says, the developer would like to seek to enter into a long-term lease with the anchor activity in the site to always consist of thoroughbred racing. That's they, Boston South.
but I'm just a little, I don't mind your question. I'm just a little confused because that was not the motion that we put forward. So, I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I just.
Mr. Helm?
The issue at hand here is not the motion that we put forward. It's a non-binding, it's a resolution for a non-binding ballot question. It's not necessarily about what the proposal was put forward. I would argue that it's about the clear perception that the actual RFP response has created. And I said last week, 1 + 1 = 2, and 2 is a racetrack. So the racetrack is an essential concept in this non-binding ballot question. It is outside of how we responded going forward. It is a question that the residents have clearly stated they have about a racetrack, because they've read the RFP response and it says a racetrack. So, I mean, I understand the reason for this question, or the question, this version, okay, that Patrick has proposed, just so that we have a clarity of discussion here. There is another proposed question or resolution okay, that is similar, but still at the same time different. So I'd like to be able to read that now so that we can have a clear discussion about the two and the difference of them. Is that all right? Or whoever proposed it
Yes.
can bring it up? Okay. This question, the other question, to see if the voters will support the planning process to examine the creation of a racing, sports, and entertainment complex, its anchor use being thoroughbred racing as a future use on land owned by Plymouth County, known primarily as the county woodlot, and then it goes into a lot of details of the parcel IDs, the addresses, all that sort of stuff. So once again, so we have, do you support the development project that includes a thoroughbred racetrack in Plymouth on the land known as the Plymouth County woodlot? And the other is to see if the voters will support the planning process to examine the creation of a racing, sports, and entertainment complex, its anchor use being thoroughbred horse racing as a future use on land owned by Plymouth County. It's known primarily as the woodlot, et cetera, et cetera. So they're kind of the same, but they're different. And the reason that I wanted to read both of them is because I wanted to give you my perspective, because we're going to be considering both of them, I think. The first one, do you support a development project that includes a thoroughbred horse racetrack in Plymouth on the land known as the county woodlot, is very direct and simple. It's a simple question. It's very targeted, okay? It doesn't mention anything about, do you support other uses? Okay, it doesn't mention anything about a sports complex, a convention center, anything. It is specifically about horse racing, a horse track. The other one, to see if the voters will support the planning process to examine the creation of a racing, sports, and entertainment complex, its anchor use being thoroughbred horse racing as a future use, does ask the same question. But the results of that could be interpreted to go beyond just the racetrack. Okay, and I'll just say my problem is the question that people want to know is, want to vote on, is a horse track. We have not, you know, if they vote no on the one that's lengthier and more open, they will be voting no to support the planning process. Okay, whereas the first one, Patrick's, for lack of a better name to it or identifier, is very specific. It's a racetrack. That's what they're asking. That is what they're going to be voting on. Once again, I'll say, if the other one is put on, it can be seen, if it is voted no, that the residents of Plymouth are saying no to anything related to even, it would be basically saying no to what the letter that Dick sent, the resolution that the Board of Selectmen passed 2 Tuesdays ago. So I just thought I would say that so that we could have some clarity of discussion about what kind of non-binding ballot referendum we would create here and vote on for May 21st. Thank you.
Chairman?
I'm sorry, Mr. Plutzer?
I'd just like to say that I didn't vote for the approval of a racetrack. That's never come before us, okay, an approval of a racetrack. What came before us was a developer that wanted to come in and develop the 110 acres. And I can tell you right now, I wouldn't approve anything on that 110 acres until the infrastructure is fixed. The roads are terrible there. The traffic is awful there, okay? So I wouldn't vote to approve anything there right now, no matter what the proposal was. But that being said, the lack of economic development in the last 10 or 12 years in this town has caused our taxes to go high, okay? We have to listen to any developer that comes into town, and at least listen to what they have to say. And I can tell you, I'm going to say this, I've said it on Facebook, I've said it at a public meeting, I'll say it again. I will never, never vote for any proposal that comes before me that the residents of Plymouth do not support, okay? I make that promise to you. So I can't say, am I going to vote against the racetrack? Because there's no racetrack before us right now. So it's, I don't care, the non-binding question, I think it should be worded, if they come up with a better proposal, okay, other than a racetrack or a casino, maybe something that you folks might be for, you might be in favor of it. But I don't want to discourage, this is the problem in this town. The developers come and they try and do light industrial commercial development, and they have such a hard time getting things done in Plymouth. That's why you got the 40B up at Home Depot, because the developers tried to put a couple of commercial projects in there, and the planning board gave them such a hard time that they went 40B, and there's nothing we could do about it. Now you got about 300 or 400 units up there, and that's going to be as big a problem as a racetrack or anything in that area. Those 400 units when they open up. Also, Colony Place, same thing. Another commercial area that we had commercial space, that should be commercial tax coming in to help with our residential taxes. 40B up there too. So, believe me, I hear you. I hear the 10 people in this room and the 20 people last week. But I'm going to tell you, I'm not a politician, by the way, okay? When I tell you something, if I promise you something, I'll stick to it, okay? I'm not going to go against a proposal that the residents aren't for. So that's why I'm not afraid of the non-binding ballot. But we have to be open-minded to light industrial commercial development, because we need to stabilize our residential taxes. I'm all for open space. When I was a town meeting member for 7 years, I voted in favor. Every time open space came before me, I voted affirmative in that every single time. And so I'm all in favor of that. But right now, I just want them to do their due diligence. And they're not going to have answers for you next week in that meeting. They're not going to have answers for me for probably 6 months, 8 months, until they come back to us and say, this is what we're doing for the infrastructure there. This is what we're going to do, a cloverleaf there or whatever they're going to do. I don't want to hear any proposal there. So, and that's me telling you this right now tonight, and I don't want to listen to I don't want to listen to the folks on Facebook putting words in my mouth that I didn't say. I am not, I'll say it one more time, I am not in favor of any proposal that the residents of Plymouth do not support. Thank you.
Any other comments? I will just go as far as the second wording you had on the motion, Harry. Not the racetrack one, but the one that racetrack plus other things. I mean, I'm not going to support that. I'll never support that motion. The horse racing one, yes, I will support. I haven't heard anybody know, but just to let everybody out in TV land know, there were actually 7 responses to the RFP. 5 of them were for housing. Okay? 5. One of them was the RFP that you saw, that's still in work. And the other one was a gravel operation. So, to the county's credit, I'll give them credit for at least picking one that wasn't housing and wasn't a gravel operation, because there was one prior, and for whatever reason, that all blew up. But just to let the public know that. I don't think the public, with the traffic, and when they put in a 40B, people, they don't need to check the traffic, okay? So be careful what you're wishing for, and let's look at all the information. I always hear about information. I can sit here and tell you right now, I don't know as much as everyone else knows about this project. But I'm going to learn. I don't know anything about horse racing or horse tracks or whatever you want to call it. Racinos? I don't know. I know what a casino is. But I don't know about a racino, but I will go check it out. That's how we learn. But give the process a chance. and there's going to be workshops, and at the end of the day, the town may say no. In order for that racetrack, as you all calling it, to go forward, the transmission lines have to come down. Okay, that's just one thing. The infrastructure has to be in place to handle traffic. So there's a lot of hurdles before this, before everybody, you know, gets all emotional about it, it's tearing the town apart. And I gotta say, when my daughter comes to me in tears because some of the clowns on Facebook, and I use the word clowns right very honestly. If you got something to say to me, come by and say it or call me on my personal phone. Don't put it on Facebook. We all talk about diversity and mentors. Really? Take a look at it. Take a look at the garbage. I'm going to tell you about it. That's just what I think about it. They're already on there tonight. They have nothing to do. I can't keep up trying to breathe oxygen doing this job. My fingers are all over the place. Cottage Park, Hedge School, racing track. And I know that's part of the job. But people don't have to be nasty. If you don't agree with the project, I get that. I understand that. And I'm just asking for the community to calm down and act civilized. Have we forgot about COVID already? You seen a community come together, how much family meant, how much your neighbor meant? Because that's how I live. I know at the end of the day, I look up and say, give me strength, watch my family, and help me make the right decisions for this community, at least right now. There you have it. But calling people Pinocchio, whatever he's doing tonight, yeah, oh, please. But it really hit me this week when my daughter came to me in tears, who's in her 30s with 3 children. Okay, and that was the same daughter that said, Dad, you're really going to do this when I decided to run for this office? And Ken will tell you, I reached out to him. I reached out because I wanted to be here for 2020. I love this town. And I thought I've done a lot. And I'm not patting myself on the back, so save those funnies. I'm never in the limelight for that stuff. And she said to me, Dad, are you serious? And I said, well, what's the matter? She says, the time that goes into that, and I know how you are. And I think she was being a little selfish because she liked me being around the grandkids in the family. So all I'm saying is, if you don't agree with at least me, I'm not speaking for anybody else here, you know, stop by, pick up the phone, my number's on all the business cards, on the website. Let's have a conversation. But can you please stop bashing each other? And then the kids see this, and they wonder why kids shoot schools and why we need mental health and all this other stuff, counselors. Think about it. I'm sorry, I know that's not on the subject, but I wanted to get it off my mind. And I'm not responding on Facebook, so type away. Back to the racetrack.
Well, I can't agree with you even more. It's very sad because I know how hard this board works. And even if we don't all agree with each other, we're respectful and civilized. And my family is not allowed on social media. My kids aren't allowed. They're 16 and 18. My husband hasn't been on social media for over a year. It just, they were on, they've seen some comments, and when your 18-year-old son says to me, Mom, why do you do this? People are so mean. And you know what? I don't know what to say, because I got into this because I just wanted to help people. Nothing more. I just wanted to help people, and you know what? I think I've done everything that I've said I was going to do. I've done everything that I promised I was going to do, and I've taken advice from my friend, Mr. Quintal, and the chairman, and I'm just not going to respond anymore because it's not worth it. You know, I've had to file police reports. I've had to file. It's been a rough year, and no one should have to go through that, because I would do anything to help anyone. And I think everybody on this board feels the same way. And just the mere, we're incompetent and we're this and we're that, I welcome anyone to put their name on a ballot and sit in this chair, because it's not easy.
Okay,
Back to the horse track.
back to the horse track question. Ballot question. Did you want to make a motion, Patrick? Or do you want, wait, before we do that, has this been checked by council just for the language, or does that come back after? I just want to make sure we do it right, so.
Excuse me. Yes, the two motions that Selectman Helm had referenced, both have been reviewed by council.
Okay. So, if somebody wants to.
Giddy up.
Yeah, giddy up.
I'd like to make a motion for a non-binding ballot question to appear on the May 21st local ballot. The question would read as follows. Do you support a development project that includes a thoroughbred horse race track in Plymouth on the land owned by the Plymouth County, known primarily as the County Woodlot, located off Camelot Drive in the Plymouth Industrial Park, consisting of the following parcels? Parcel ID number 088.000.054.000, 63 Camelot Drive, 106.24 acres. Parcel ID number 088.000.023.042D, 0 Camelot Drive, 2.8 acres. Parcel 088.000.042.001, 144 Long Pond Road, 2.969 acres, all located within the township of Plymouth in Plymouth County. That is the motion.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Cavaco. Discussion. All those in favor? Unanimous. Moving on.
License and administrative notes.
Thank you.
No, I was answering Harry.
Oh, I thought you
were asking, where are we?
All righty. Second Wind Brewing Company, looking for a one-day wine and malt license for April 28th from 4:30 to 10:30 p.m.
Motion.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor? Unanimous. Second Wind Brewing LLC, one-day wine and malt license for May 14th and 15th from 11:30 a.m. to 10:30 p.m.
Motion.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor? Unanimous. Red Brook, amplified music permit for April 23rd from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m.
Second.
Discussion? Mr. Helm?
Oh, sorry, I was
Just
voting
getting,
yes.
moving it right along?
I was voting, yeah, I'm like, I was voting yes.
All right, no problem. All those in favor? Unanimous. Administrative notes, 1, 2, and 3. Any questions, corrections? Take any separate?
Move as a group.
All three? Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Blitzer. All, discussion. All those in favor? Unanimous. Committee liaison updates. Designee updates. Old business. Letters. Here we go. New business. Mrs. Cavaco.
So, obviously, everyone knows that we had a discussion regarding Holtec in our executive session with our legal team and our special counsel. So I would actually like to, through the chair, direct the town manager to work with town council, special counsel, and the federal and state legislative delegations to take all means necessary, including pursuing legislation or legal action to prevent the dumping of wastewater from Pilgrim Nuclear Power Plant into the Cape Cod Bay, and to ensure the long-term safety and security of the Pilgrim Nuclear Power Site. And if the town would also, we'd like to have the federal and state delegation come down and meet with us to discuss. If the town manager, if you wouldn't mind through the chair doing that. And one more thing, not one drop.
Did you, Betty, was that the federal delegation also?
Yes, that's Markey, Keating, and Warren.
Well, if they're going to come, would it be all right for like Zoom? I mean, I didn't know what you were, okay.
Sure.
All right.
But I'd like to have them in person to come down and see our beautiful town hall.
Oh, well, I'm good with that.
And you can buy lunch.
Yeah. No problem. Anything else on the new business? No? Okay, then. Seeing nothing, we're going to adjourn, and I'd like to say thank you for watching. Have a good week, and keep the people of Ukraine in your thoughts and prayers. Thank you.
Second.